All right, welcome back. You're watching Uongozi Today, the tail end of the program right now. And we're just focusing on the beats of the budget that was read yesterday by Professor Njuguna Ndung'u. We are looking at especially the allocations in education, and also we are asking ourselves for the universities that they have been decrying the fact that there is no funding from the government. Most of them also, they've not been going for months without salaries, and the statutory deductions are not also remitted to Treasury. Are they thinking outside the box, especially our public universities? Every time we have them coming to the exchequer with a pail in hand that they should be funded, and this is what we are raising with our academicians here in the panel to just tell us what is happening. And we've heard also from Professor Kindiki that for almost even 20 years, some of the professors or even the lecturers in the universities have not published any good research or any document or any proposal to actually seek funding. With other jurisdictions, we know there are some universities who even fund the government, but here in the country is the other way. And this is it's becoming now a shaggy dog story for the longest time. We've been hearing this for the last decade about funding and funding and funding. How can we think outside the box? And this is where we are challenging our professors here to tell us what is the way forward. Publish or perish is their own phrase. Yeah. And so maybe we have perished of professors here in the country who cannot think outside the box. But also professors alluded to the fact that, you know, from the what they call the jag and mag theory that we received from the colonialists. Yes. That you cannot think. No, you cannot think. You're always ingurgitating what you're given and regurgitating that. So you become sort of a robot. So this is what the caliber of professors we are actually having in our universities who went through the jag and mag theory. They cannot think outside the box.
So, you know, Dibal, before Herman comes in, I want to agree in part in what he said. And I also want to add that there's also a part of intellectual dishonesty that we carry along with us. I know professors whose only qualification to being a professor is moving from this university to be a senior lecturer in this university and going to that university to become an associate professor within 1 year. And there are several of them calling themselves professors. They moved just like that. Some are very well known. So I will leave it at that. The point we are saying is that intellectual deceit is part of our problem. It's also part of society. No problem. However, we are still saying that if in order for us to revolutionize or innovate around university education, we need to think about whether these entities ought to be in a private space or in public space, with the consequences that in the public space, the decisions we make as bureaucrats, as politicians, affect universities' credibility and also ability to produce. You know the University of Nairobi, you know Moi University. We can quote all the universities that have been politically interfered with, and that has affected it. That said, no problem. That should not take away the fact that we as a country do not have, or rather do not, and I don't want to agree with Herman here that a colonial education, that I think is a good excuse, a bad excuse for over the years. We are 60 years, for heaven's sake. I keep saying, the other day Korea was with us at the beginning. Korea is now where it is and it's developing. Samsung, LG, and all that technology is done from the Korean Institute of Advanced Science and Technology. So we just need to be focused and decide what we want to do. Having said that, we want to come back and tell ourselves, if we do not innovate and if we do not put resources where it matters, then we will not go there. Governments fund universities, no doubt about it. And they should fund education, no doubt about it. But the universities should also be able to innovate and look for resources and look. In the US, universities grow out of endowments. The universities twin up with the industry. Industry funds, puts money there, and industry looks for the kind of people that it develops. And I want also to demystify what we think about university education. You know, when you look at the history of motor vehicle technology in Japan, most of the guys who founded those vehicles, for example, the guy called Toyota who eventually is now behind Toyota, was an apprentice. He was not a university graduate, an apprentice. The guy who founded Honda, Mr. Honda, was an apprentice. So again, it is about what we do with ourselves in terms of what we encourage. If people can be, and that's why CBC is very important, or is actually very innovative, it's just that the way we're implementing it is as cavalier as we love to do. But essentially what you're saying is that if you want to have a mind that is technologically driven, then you want to be started early and allowed that space to develop. Per chance, you could actually invent something in 10 years, when you're 10, when you're 11, when you're 12, because inventiveness is not how long you have spent in an education system, but rather is how your mind is operating and what is likely to pick up on. And so there is also something we need to be sure about, that the problem is not in the system that we have. CBC is a good one. The problem was not in 844. 844 was very good. Others have said it should have even been strengthened. It's us and how we implement it and how we also allocate resources to it. So we just have to accept the problem is with us as a government, with us as bureaucrats when we're given an opportunity to implement.
Let's finalize on that bit.
You know, let us not underrate the role of environments in which people operate when you want to judge them. Research is very critical. Now, there are two ways of looking at research and the publishing is talking about. You can publish so that you get promotion, right? But you can also undertake impactful research. What we have in this country is what is talking about papers and what is research for promotion. Where even what you read, you write yourself, you don't even believe in it. Most of the things in my area, if you took even to a primary school, the children wonder how are professors talking about these things. There's somebody was making fun about per capita distribution of some funny things in some part of the country. So now let's look at impactful research. Two things are important. First of all, the environment. If a university does not value research or knowledge, if there are no structures to enable the academy function the way an academy should function, you have to be a very exceptional person to enter into impactful research. Research is very expensive, extremely expensive, time-consuming, and stressful. To the extent that it's stressful and time-consuming, you need somebody to facilitate you. The universities which produce impactful research across the world, the professors are facilitated. Professors have research assistants paid for by the universities. There are research funds made available to professors to undertake research. In a country where a professor is trying to figure out how he will go back to the house and there's no gas in the house. Yesterday they couldn't cook because gas ilikuwa imeisha. You expect a man like this in that state of mind to undertake research? Our doctors will wait for doctors from temperate countries where there are no mosquitoes and there are malaria, or countries which sorted out malaria 50 years ago to come and do research on malaria here. And you want to blame those doctors? No. But the doctor is being paid so badly, he has to stay somewhere around Kawangware or in Kawangware. He's struggling with the daily matters of bread. So I really want us to be very clear about this, my friend. Do not think your colleagues are lazy. Some of these people are operating under very stressful conditions, economic stressful conditions. The mind requires, that's why when I was in college, why university students were being given free meals and all that kind of thing, is because when you are at university, you are supposed to engage in the serious business of knowledge. Today we have students cooking in the hostel. You are in class and students lecturing, and they keep coming in and out. You want to blame.
They're not taking studies in cooking.
Amekumbuka sasa, hakuwa amepika sukuma, anatoka. Mwingine alafu Sahela anamaliza kupika, yeye anakuja anaendelea class, mwingine anaenda kupika ugali.
Kula lunch ameingia.
We have students in our universities today engaged in very painful activities of survival.
Yeah.
Please, when they're supposed to be doing nothing but engaging in the serious business because IMF lied to us. IMF lied to us and we accepted that pay as you earn, eat as you do what? Whatever you do, pay. Students should pay for their food, pay for their accommodation. That was a big lie. The result is now we are producing students who are not students, who are engaged in other things. Same with staff. And finally, my friend, in a space like most universities, where the vice chancellor is the university and the university is the vice chancellor, the sort of democratic space and free space to allow for free thoughts, free thinking human beings. In any of these universities, you cannot invite a speaker even if you are chairman of a department. Let's say you head political science or literature, where very many tough guys would come and give talk to students and staff. You try and invite one, you'll be sacked. So let's first of all work on the environment. What is our university? Can we, as Martin is saying, make sure our universities are actually universities, not by name. They are universities with the minimum, only policy direction from the government, but they are autonomous to operate. Look, there's something circulating in the media. It could be wrong, it could be right. You know this social media, that Kisii University has received 16,000 students, the highest. And it had 3,000.
Last year it received 10,000.
Yeah, it had 300. It had 300 members of academic staff. The same thing is saying, for you to have sufficient attention to these 16,000 alone, not the entire university, you need a minimum of 1,000. These people have like 300. Are you telling me in an environment like that? Look, what say does our university today have about CBC? They had no say in 844. They just received students.
And you've not prepared.
They are going to receive CBC. They have no say. And you tell me that's education? You tell me a university like that can function?
That's the question.
You tell me professors in such universities can contribute to the development of this country? They cannot.
Thank you.
Let's just something small.
It is this time. It is this time. We will come to you, Professor.
Well, you know, when you allow professors to talk, they forget others are in the room. But
I will get your papers
we are
quickly.
paid to talk. The little we are paid to talk.
yeah, but I want to begin where Herman has just left. I think that's where the crux of the matter is. Remember, Dibal, we've agreed as part of the AU that research shall be so much of the GDP of any country, and we should be working towards that. The second issue is for us to remind ourselves again that up to the other day when President Mwai Kibaki took over, the chancellor of any public university was the president himself. And therefore it tells you how much grip the government has had on various universities, and up to now, that tradition and bad manners has not been let go. We are still expecting a lot from the government of the day in terms of direction at the university and even in terms of basic administration. You remember the altercations between the CS at that time and the University of Nairobi, where there was one is supposed to be taking over from the other one, and all that is still not improving the environment that we live in. The third issue that I think we need to remind ourselves is that research is good as there is offtake of that research. And therefore you can do so much research, and many Kenyans have done so much research, only for the knowledge they have gained up to a certain level to be taken by other institutions away from Kenya. In Kenya today, it is harder to register a patent so that that knowledge is kept to you and not taken up by somebody else and plagiarized, and somebody takes it and make use of it. Why? We have not built the requisite infrastructure to protect intellectual kind of property. So that if I do research or any other person does research, that property is protected and I'm assisted to lift it to another level. That's why I was saying I'm agreeing with Herman that you cannot just do research for the sake of just publishing papers. You can be encouraged to do research as long as you know at the end of the day, this research is going to be taken to another level and to be put into something that is practical. And when that practicality does arise, you are going to have residual benefit from it. Look at M-Pesa. Whoever came up with that innovation possibly might have gotten 5 million, 10 million, or whatever the amount. But whatever we are doing in all these transactions today, they do not have any residual benefit. If they register, they will be getting 1% of the benefit from M-Pesa. That person would be a billionaire today. But today, it may be the way we are or worse than us.
Today we don't want to work hard, so just invent pay bill number of M-Pesa, all payments, 5% is yours.
Yeah.
Good.
And
you don't have to put in your ideas.
And many students today, well, I happen to be still be in school, and I was with some younger students for my master's and even undergraduate. And I realized many students today, they work to pass the exam. If you are to give them the same exam the following term, they will all fail. Because people are just looking for marks in whatever form, whether it is about whatever, you call it Mwakenya. One of my classmates at MA was found with a full scarf that she's been able to fold and has written words in every line. There are two sentences. Then I said, by the time you write all these so carefully, it is enough time to read and pass.
And remember.
But and remember, because when you read and internalize.
No, it's all about it's recalling factor that really counts. You can read.
So these are some of the challenges that we need to look at this issue holistically. The government has a role, the university has a role, the lecturers have a role, we students have a role, all of us.
Right. And you raise the issue of a chancellor, and you remember also in the University of Nairobi.
Yes.
They had to actually import a chancellor because they are not even entrusted that they can have a chancellor who cannot think outside the box, right? So you need a person who can step out of the frame to look at the picture. Isn't that the fact with the University of Nairobi?
So. And I beg my professors that you don't have to be a vice chancellor of a university because you have PhD and a lot of experience.
Yes.
We should be looking for managers and leaders.
Yes.
But some people may be very excellent in class. I know many guys who were together in high school who are very excellent. Some are doctors, some are engineers, but they are not necessarily managers and they are not leaders.
This traditional lecturers about that
about management of the university. Just a quick one of what you are saying. The reason why a PhD is a requirement is because you are not only a manager, but also academic leader.
Yeah, but you see, Prof, allow me also to explain to you. I'm not saying I go with my master's, I become a vice chancellor of University of Nairobi. I'm saying you don't just have to have PhD, but also prove that you have certain credentials in management, and also you are a good leader.
That is okay.
Being a leader in academia is not a leader in the typical ways of the world. Remember Winston Churchill.
I have not finished by saying there are two types, two arms of university management.
Yes.
Administration and academic.
Yes.
So what we are saying is that most of our vice chancellors may be, according to your argument, they are inclined to academics and not administration. So there's nothing wrong having a PhD as academic leader and also having business management or something,
or even
that
PhD also
PhD
in that field.
Management, so that you combine the two to become a better manager. That is excellent. There's nothing wrong with
to that thinking in the bar. You see, first, the university is not an industrial area kind of company or factory where you need a manager.
It is.
I'm saying,
because
we already clarified, so I'm just adding to that.
Yes.
Because this is an academic institution. The people you are heading will have a little problem if you are not one of them. So first of all, you need to be one of them, and I agree with you. But what I want to make adjustment on is if you are an academic, that's already enough. We don't need any other papers from you. What do other universities do? When they want to get a vice chancellor, they send out, okay, with this university in the next 6 months, we will be needing a vice chancellor. Do you have what it takes? Do you understand this university? Do you know where it is going? Can you take this university where it's going? And then people come, if it's the University of Nairobi, you come to Taifa Hall. Come to Taifa Hall. Forget about the papers. You're already an academic. You're already one of us. Yes. Forget about MBA. These are useless things. They are just papers people have. Come and address the university community, listening to you. Present, not address, present your idea of what a university is.
Yes.
What is the University of Nairobi?
Yeah.
In 20, 50 years, where do you want to see this university? How would you walk this university? I've already explained that the University of Nairobi is shameful, that we should be queuing with small universities like Kisii, Uko Treasury for capitation. If I'm the president, for heaven's sake, after 1 year you can, just 1 year. This university can generate enough money to pay all lecturers in this country and pay them salaries, not what they're earning today, really salaries. It has the resources to pay all the lecturers in this country, not in the University of Nairobi. So when you come to us in Taifa Hall, we want to see that dream. Walk us through, take us, tell us how you'll turn this dying university into a super fast league university that can compete with the best in the world.
Who is your audience?
Because
who is your audience?
These lecturers.
The university
will be
community.
there. You will come.
Yes.
We will even invite leaders of industry
Yes.
to fill the gaps which we can't.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, everybody will see it is Martin Olo.
Yes.
Who can be the vice chancellor?
I agree.
So if we go in,
Good point.
if we go in that direction, that's number one.
Yeah.
And then number two, we make sure we delink government, universities from government. And number three, we create structures of governance where the Senate is the highest decision making. If Senate has not said it, it is not going to be done.
I thought that's the structure today.
No, Senate is just a rubber stamp.
Okay.
Recently,
The structure is government.
Recently, without taking sides, I saw, I shouldn't even be talking about this, but since I'm an old man, I think I should be allowed.
At your age, you don't fear.
There's nothing to lose.
The chairman of council has written that the vice chancellor ought to go on leave, and therefore they have appointed another vice chancellor. I'm not saying it is right or wrong. I don't want to go there because these are my bosses.
Yes.
But then the vice chancellor, who has been sent on compulsory leave, and somebody else, he called Senate, and the professors went to attend. I found that they are not helping the situation.
Yeah.
They should first help to resolve that problem.
Yeah.
Whoever is responsible, whether it is the minister, or the chairman, or the vice chancellor, or all the three, the professors should ensure that abnormal situation does not arise. Because when you go and attend Senate to a person who has been sent on leave, what statement are you making? You are not helping the situation. You see what I'm saying? And therefore, Senate ought to be an organ of serious people who can make serious, independent decisions. In our Senate, what the Vice Chancellor reads is what goes. Nobody ever answers back or says anything. During the days of Magoha, catching. Sit up. Telling you. People are saying, Kiama,
We need to get to another topic right now.
That's not a university in my sense.
Thank you.
Yeah.
In my thinking, that cannot be a university. A university is where the voice of the university is the professor.
Yeah.
Not the Ministry of Higher Education.
Not the vice chancellor.
That will dictate, they will dictate who will be the chairman.
I have to say this because it's important.
But they are stakeholders.
I have to say this because it's
But they are
important.
stakeholders.
When Professor Mbidi,
They are not stakeholders.
when
let's
Professor Mbidi
forget
became
about what
the
we're
vice
saying. Let's
chancellor of
talk
the
about
University of
something higher.
Nairobi,
Yes.
Right.
I
he
am
did a
a
very good
stakeholder.
thing. He said, let all units from
What is the
department
stake
to
there?
faculties to colleges, let them sit down and give ideas of how we are going to change the university. The moment immediately he took over. So we sat and I said, go and tell me the only one thing. Return the professor to the university. Because the university became an administrative university. It doesn't belong to the academic staff. It belongs to the vice chancellor and his team of administrators. If you see a professor at the university, it is the body which is there, not the mind. Return them back. Because that is a resource you have to develop the university. Let them work with the management, with the vice chancellor and everybody else. But if you have policies that have chased away the professors from the university. They only come to teach. If they teach, that's it. They are not part of the university. They are not there. They are not there. Return them back. So basically, we have to change the structure and the governance of universities.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll be remiss if we don't really talk about, but I wanted to just raise that particular point, even of the fundraising, that you have to bring a foreigner to help the university fundraise.
I would not go there because
the chancellor.
These are my big people, includes the president and
That's what I'm saying. The president,
and I'm a small boy.
the president has seen there is a gap that you don't think outside the box. Somebody else has to come and think
It
for
is
you.
what I'm saying. If you look at the way the laid down procedure, the name of the chancellor is supposed to come from us. We nominate people, then we discuss, we narrow the list, then we narrow to 2 or 3, then we take up there for one of them to be appointed. So if that is not done, it's part of what I'm talking about, the governance. No institution can develop without proper governance structure. None.
All right. All right, talking about the thesis, we just want to put track where Dr. Kirwa's thesis is. You've not challenged him today.
No, I've told him to quickly finish with these papers because he needs to be equal to this group. Because the papers matter.
That's why you people eliminated me from the discussion. You know, you should have quoted.
No, he's almost there.
He has done very well. In fact, Waziri has done very well. And I think those papers are long overdue. They should have been submitted as soon as possible.
In many of these big universities you are talking about,
without any
there is an
exemption.
angle of people like from the bench, judges. You see when they are being interviewed for a job, you hear they are teaching. They don't need to have all the papers you're talking about.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But just I heard Gladys also just advancing
in this
the
discussion, I will be very happy.
Let me not lose it. I'll come to you. I just wanted to. I heard Gladys actually advancing the idea that, you know, experientially, that should translate to a degree.
Yeah, in some jurisdictions.
Yeah, that if you have a storied history that you have been in that particular profession and you've gained the experience, the acumen, that should be considered.
Some universities they do that.
On how actually it can be put down to a paper.
But it must be.
There's nothing wrong with it. Indeed, when you look at executive masters, it is taking you from your bringing your experience. You're being given an executive degree. No problem. That is done. Or when you are a mason or an electrical guy, you've done so much. You can be assessed, and total knowledge can be equated to a
recognition of prior learning.
Recognition of prior learning.
Yes,
so that can be done.
Okay.
What is important is just create a system around it, and know that that is not equivalent to an academic degree.
Yeah.
Because academic has a rigor to it and has a system to it that you must go to.
Right. Professor Kindiki?
No, I was only trying to make this discussion a bit friendly so that we are not maybe mistaken on what we are saying. But I think the university is not made up of one stakeholder.
Yeah.
There are several people who are concerned. Recently, and even currently and recently, the people from the industries and business people have been complaining, saying, if we want some kind of research from the university, we are not getting it. If we want to recruit people from the university, we don't get it. What we have, they're just papers, information, theory, and all that. But we want knowledge, skills attached also to practice so that you combine the two. So what I'm saying is that some of our universities, the issue of underfunding will be sorted out also if, as members of academic staff, we also, as a stakeholder, we also have a major contribution. And when we are talking about, research, we are not talking of publications for promotion only, but it goes with funding, fundable projects. I'm telling you, a group of 3 or 4 professors here, as we are in this table, we can sit down and write a project proposal of bringing the money to the university of 50 million, 200 million. And supposing we have maybe 10, 20 professors in the university, and all of them, they have similar kind of contribution, that will be huge, enormous. And we will not be crying, oh, we have no salaries, oh, the government is not doing that. Remember, the government is a stakeholder anywhere in the world of what happens in these institutions of higher learning. What we are saying is that, I think my colleagues are only saying too much involvement or too much, trying to, interfere with the running of the university. And I think that is slowly dying. There was a time when the chancellor of the university was automatically the president of the Republic of Kenya. Today, it's not. It's ordinary Kenyans who are excelled in their various ways, who are chancellors, and then down to council, to VCs and others. But my concern today is about the academic staff. Let's also, as a major stakeholder of the university, support universities by being creative, innovative, and write even fundable proposals, which we can even get from the industries around or externally in other countries, so that we not only look as people who are only begging. I sometimes feel a bit shy, although I support my colleagues sometimes, because when they complain that they have not been paid, it's okay. But we can move from that kind of situation.
Has made money
and try. No, saying making money. You can also make money. Nobody has stopped anybody making money.
But is attested to the fact.
I'm trying to justify fundable proposals, and this is a serious thing, by the way, to educate our.
This is how he makes his money. So he's just challenging you. Can you have fundable proposals?
You can write a proposal.
Fundable proposal.
Try also to make a contribution, so that you don't always become so much dependent.
Thank you.
Dependency syndrome is what is killing some of our universities. Dependency syndrome.
Yeah, dependency. Yes. We need to head to the court right now, because we have a very interesting story there, and I know you always in the courts.
Yes.
This latest development, and we pray for our magistrate and know her life is in critical condition as it stands right now. Such an unfortunate situation. This has never happened in the storied history of this country.
This is a bad situation, and indeed an unfortunate one, because the court corridors have often had the sacrosanctity and the security and the general orderliness that happens. There are two things that have happened in this case that must give us room to reflect. Makadara law courts is perhaps one of the areas that we need to reform and rebuild and create modern structures. Makadara, you're operating with fairly colonial structures there that have not been improved ever since we took independence. Another story of how our priorities. If you go to our police stations, Kabete here or anywhere, the infrastructure that was left there during the colonialists is what we are having, and that's a shame. So that is a problem. There's no enough room in Makadara for courts to hold. So court number 9, where Honorable Monica Kibuti was sitting, was actually in a tent out there in the open. So what happened is that she pronounced herself on the issue of skipping bail and cancelled the bail. And it was so easy for this person, who is an officer of the court, because a policeman, by all respect, has access to court, to just walk in and attack. So we must look at security and look at sufficiency of infrastructure to enable judiciary to operate. 2, we must again now relook at what, this is a judicial officer can be a judge, can be a court, a police, can be, as a high court, as an advocate, I'm an officer of the court. So it is all of us who are the court users on a day-to-day basis. We must also again revisit that. Should I come armed if I'm not on duty? Because this guy was in civilian, armed. Should he not have been frisked and perhaps, asked to? But again, it's difficult in that situation.
Guns, save for the police officers, are guns admissible in the court?
Generally not.
Generally not.
Unless you are uniformed and armed the way, for example,
that you're on duty.
Yeah. Or if you see, magistrates and judges are guarded as well by a court order. So you need to be sure that should such a situation happen, there's some defense. But generally, we should be able we should not have guns in court. We should be able to hold out any of such things. My fear, of course, in this case is that this is an officer who can easily say, I'm in civilian, all right, but I'm on duty. Because he's, he's a senior police officer. So those are the issues. And the third issue, which again goes back to the perennial conversation between the judiciary and the executive. Fund the judiciary for it to be able to administer justice. Enable it so that it can also provide for safety and appropriate working environment for its staff. What happened yesterday is unfortunate. I really pray that our colleague Monica regains and actually recovers from that and should be able to go about her normal life. It was traumatic. I talked to two of my colleague friends who were there, the magistrates, and one of them was in the hospital, and she told me that she had just come through theater. They had to remove the various bullets. We have students, DESTA has students there who are now who are on the attachment. There were about 6 students there. So we've had also to cancel the students so that we just, nobody wants to see such a situation in a court of law, and therefore it can be traumatic, especially for a student who is going on an attachment.
It's traumatizing.
You don't want to imagine that can happen when you are there. Of course, you saw advocates who were there when the whole thing was happening, and they were looking a bit traumatized as well. Very unfortunate.
Deba, my condolences to the family of the police officer who lost his life. Speedy recovery to the magistrate and the other officers of the court who are injured. We wish them well. But we need a transformation of our judiciary. Places like Makandara, like I think Martin is alluding to, places like Makandara and Kibra are defined by 2 things. One, the dirt. The place is smelly. You go there and you feel your stomach is turning around. And there were bearing presence of brokers. And the sad state in which the inmates are as they come from some hall through some corridor to come and face justice. I sympathize even with magistrates. The sort of stench they must deal with when that door is open to bring in those. We must, I think you are right. I think you are right. We can't be operating colonial structures. Look at our police cells. So that said and done, I have always argued, and I was once on TV debating one of the presidents, and I think I thought lawyers should stop calling these people presidents. The things you are introducing are irrelevant. How can the administration of justice in this country be improved on? For example, now, here is a lady whose bail is being cancelled because she has not honored whatever her appearances in court. On the other hand, it is being said she's very ill. She even came in on oxygen, whatever it is, whatever people are calling, whatever it may be. She was very ill. How difficult is it for our courts to keep tab on people who are on bail? We have enough systems.
It's very difficult, by the way.
It's not difficult.
No, it's very difficult.
It's not system.
They go out of the court presence. By the way,
let me finish.
Because we are supposed to wind
let
up.
us not behave like school teachers, principals.
But I thought you are
for some reason, you have not paid 5,000 shillings, and your daughter is in some school in Busia. Principal anamfukuza anamweka kwa gari na ni msichana. How difficult is it for the principal to call you? Please, let us not talk. So the court, listen, let him finish. You are an officer of the court. Let me finish. The courts can have a system of finding out people who are supposed to appear in the court, even why they have not appeared. This lady comes with documents showing she has been unwell.
Did you see that?
The magistrate just looks at them like this and says, I don't believe these documents. She's not a doctor. Is she a doctor? She's not a doctor. She's not an expert. Can't we have systems of processing things like this so that by the time the magistrate pronounces her solved, she's doing so from an informed position. That if you had to go, for example, if you miss exams, teachers will give their own example.
We need to wind up.
You miss exams because you are unwell, okay? We would demand, first of all, we should have known unless it was an emergency. But even then, whichever the case, you cannot go to some funny clinic and come with a letter saying you are unwell. You have to go to an established government hospital. Then we can believe. So I'm saying we do not have structures in our court system to process even simple things.
Thank you.
The courts ought to be in a
So that
position
we put
to
this in
process
context.
We need to hear from
This issue of bail.
We'll come to you. You'll give it as a closing remark. Yeah. Let's listen for very briefly as well.
Oh, you mean we are ending there?
Yeah.
Hatutaingia siasa.
No, time is not on our side.
Hata ilikuwa siasa.
Hii si
Siasa ya shule, ya university.
siasa.
No, I agree with him. Hatuwezi kuja hapa tukose kuongea juu ya village.
Village will do it is a developing story. It doesn't die, right?
So, Debal, I think what I'm looking at is the fundamentals of such issues. Somebody picking a gun and shooting at the other person as a way of resolving conflict. I say so because our society has been termed to have a lot of mental illness, such that for every 10 people, 3 of them are likely to suffer some kind of mental deficit of one way or the other. The second issue is that our society has gotten into a situation where we do not want to go through the due process. We want to resolve things our way. We want, if I don't agree with you, I take everything into my hands and I don't want to go through the process of the law or anything like that. Because this policeman would have easily looked for time to make an appeal, and that appeal would have assisted the person, both the magistrate to reconsider the issue and for the lady also to be given the necessary support if she is unwell the way it has been reported. So it tells you our society needs a lot of relook into itself for purposes of resolving conflict. This is a society that is full of conflict. That's why even at the higher level, between the president and his deputy, they are just showcasing issues that are not there. The two of them are parted ways ab initio. And finally, there was no phone call to Uhuru Kenyatta.
It's true.
Just politics.
Yeah, it is politics.
Oh, sure. Phone call.
Now
You're raising heavy politics and we're closing the show.
Dibala wanted to
No, it's Kindiki's time. No, it is
I don't
Kindiki.
want to talk about politics. I just want to talk about this issue of shooting. And we send our condolences to the deceased police officer. Also the officer of the court, the magistrate, who was shot, and any other person who was really, affected in the whole conflict. But as Mheshimiwa is saying, that it's important as a society we find a way of solving problems without endangering our lives in one way or the other. Maybe the police officer felt that he was so much, maybe his views were not considered, and he would have put it as maybe as an appeal, as he puts it. But more to that, I think we need to revise our curriculum in how we handle some of the issues. There are some areas where we feel that I think issues about management of conflicts is really affecting our society, and I think it's high time we look at, maybe we look at how our curriculum is, right, not actually for officers only, but right from primary, secondary, university, because we have also had cases where we find university students stabbing one another and killing one another.
Thank you.
Very unfortunate information. So actually, this is just an eye-opener for all of us. That incident is very unfortunate, and we regret that it happened. But I think, going forward, we think we need to broaden our thinking as a country and see how this can penetrate in our curriculum in various levels, including training of our officers, so that now some of the issues can be sorted out early enough before they escalate to that level. I think that's my take.
All right,
on
Martin,
this issue
briefly. Yes.
of bail, first of all, bail is a right to any Kenyan who is charged. They have a right of, as of just being a Kenyan, They have that right. So, two, when you release somebody on bail, that person is not within the ambit of the courts. That person goes into the society. So there are two issues. One, that they will be responsible enough to come back on the understanding that they are on bail. Two, should they not come back, the only other person who can bring them in are police security apparatus that can bring them back. In this particular case, the victim had, or the accused person had skipped bail, and there was a warrant of arrest, so she actually came under arrest. The issue about this is that you can explain yourself, your circumstances to the prosecution and to the people who have brought you, and you can actually be heard, so that by the time the magistrate is coming to get your case, you have explained it, or at least you can be able to have an opportunity. It's unfortunate that Haman, who didn't know the facts yesterday, seems to be now saying things that may not be the correct one. There is a statement released by the Chief Justice.
Briefly, sir.
Yeah. Statement released by the Chief Justice, please look at it. Statement released by the Chief Registrar of the Court, look at it.
Thank you.
So the facts are out there. The issue is unfortunate that no one should take the law into their hands as to visit a person doing justice or work around justice to violate it.
Thank you. And talking about bonds, we have Sonko, who has secured Ian Njoroge's release in police assault case after committing 700,000 shillings bond with his aid as surety, right? So these are bails and bonds as well. But we'll leave you this particular editorial cartoon, maybe to just think about it, because we have Honorable Kipruto Rapkirwa, who seems to be very assured that there was no phone call, right? And there was none.
It was between Metito and Kinuthia.
Metito and Kinuthia.
Yeah.
But of course, those are mouths of
mouthpieces.
So they lifted. You see, when you lift to the level of the president, it tells you there is politics in it.
All right. Well, let's find out the politics next week. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your contribution this morning. A lot of issues that
closing remarks.
We've got. Those are closing remarks you've given. Thank you very much. News Diary is up next. Those are closing remarks. What had you given?
No, but in my closing remarks, I wanted to say nobody can condone violence. Let it not be interpreted that I'm saying anybody has a right to shoot anybody.
You didn't say that.
No, because there is bring it. Violence is not something we can condone.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, thank you for your valued company. News Diary is up next.